Hello, good evening, and welcome to Varsity Maine Live for the Portland Press Herald. I'm Travis Lazarzik, and this week I am joined by my colleagues Mike Lowe from the Press Herald, who might be joined by his dog Buck, we'll see, and from the Kennebec Journal and Morning Sentinel, Drew Bonifant. Our guest this week is in her ninth season as the head coach of South Portland High School girls basketball team. In 2020, she took the Red Riots to the AA state championship game. Lynne Hasson, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here.
Your team's 1-1 right now. Season just started. What have you seen that you kind of like, and what are you seeing like you got plenty of time to build on here?
Yeah, I definitely like our energy and our work ethic. I like the fact that we play together as a team and have really good team chemistry. I think we're a pretty quick team and a pretty deep team, so I like some of that. I think I've got several kids that can shoot the ball. I think, we are not big and physical this year. And so I think we need to make sure that we're matching teams that are a little more physical than we are. And I think, we need to make sure we box out. We need to get a little bit better at that already. I think there's lots of areas for improvement, but I think we have a lot of the pieces there and we're willing to work hard and play as a team. And I think that's big. I think we have great team chemistry. I think we're in it to win together. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see our improvement during the course of the season and see what the season brings.
Lynn, your record's 1-1 right now. You won the opener against Noble, and you were saying earlier you set a school record, 31 points in a quarter.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And then you lost to Wyndham, and I would imagine you were pretty happy with that game because Wyndham should be one of the better teams in Class AA this year. You were down big, and you cut it to 1 in the early fourth quarter, correct, or late third?
Yeah.
So it shows that the team really, you got to be pleased with the way the team came back.
Yeah, I think that was a huge takeaway from the game. We didn't do especially well in the second quarter, and we're a young team. And we very easily could have kind of quit at the half and come out and got blown out. And instead, we battled in the third quarter, and we cut it to a point. And I thought we played really well in the second half. Really, it was just, a spurt of time in the first half that we didn't play well. So the fact that we didn't quit and the fact that we played hard and battled back, I think it's just great. It's a great sign for our team.
And you've got a freshman who's really seems to have played well for you, Emma Travis, 11 points in the first game, 8 or 9 points in the second game. I mean, she seems to be stepping up for you.
Yeah, she's really physically. A lot of times, a freshman comes in and they just, that's where they really sometimes get exposed. And she's just a big, strong kid as a freshman. She loves the game. She's got really good skills. And, sometimes I think the other thing is freshmen get overwhelmed, and she's a pretty confident kid. So she blends right in. I don't think she's overwhelmed at all. What I was most pleased about Emma, she's scoring some points, but she's doing a lot of little things. But I thought, out of all the kids that kind of got a shot at defending Talon, I thought she did a really nice job. And she's really tough to defend. So Emma battled her, did some good things against her defensively. And I think she's got a tremendous upside. I think you're going to see a lot of great things from her in the 4 years she plays for us. I'm excited, really excited to have her. I've known her since she was doing basketball camps as a third grader, and she was always bigger and more skilled than a lot of kids her age, and she always played up with us at camp. So now she gets a chance to really play up.
Coach, it sounds like you have a pretty good idea of your team's identity. You're talking about not being the most physical, but liking the quickness and everything. Is that ever a case where just you kind of a good beat on that early on, or is it always something where, the season is for finding out what that identity is, and even if you have a good idea of it coming into a season, that changes as the year goes on?
Yeah, I think most times you have a pretty good idea heading in, and you might make adjustments, and you may figure out what you thought was going to work doesn't. But we've been pretty blessed the last several years with some size. every year. And we knew coming into this year that we didn't have a lot of size, but I did know that we have a lot of athletic kids. And like I said, I think we're pretty deep. And so we're adjusting the style that we're going to play a little bit with those kids that I think can get up and down the court, that can run the court in transition. I'm hoping, we're a work in progress for sure, but I'm hoping we're going to be able to apply some full court pressure. And I think the biggest thing we need to figure out right now is how deep we are and who players 6, 7, 8, 9, and maybe 10 are. And I don't know if we go 10 deep. I don't know if we go 8 deep, but we got to figure out, I think we have an idea of maybe who 1 through 5 are, but we'll find that next group. And we've been talented enough, and like I said, had size that we've been pretty good playing 5 or 6 players the last several years. We don't have a superstar. We've had Maggie Whitmore's and Megan Graff's and Maddie Hasson's. We have some really strong, good players, but we don't have that one Miss Maine player that we've had in the past. And so I think that's good in some ways. We're going to be a much more balanced team. I think there's a bunch of people that can contribute to the scoring. I do think that we have a couple of players who are going to have to score 12, 14, 16 points a game. But we're not going to depend on one person.
Coach, we seem to be in like the best time ever for Maine high school girls basketball as far as talent goes. I can think of 3 or 4 kids who are playing right now are going to play in Division I in college, and I'm sure I'm leaving a lot off the top of my head, and that's not even mentioning like Mackenzie Holmes and Anna DeWolf and some of the other players who have come in recent years. What are you seeing as some of the main reasons for this upsurge in talent that we're seeing here in Maine?
Yeah, I think some of it's good and some of it's bad, honestly. I think it's just a passion and a love of the game and the opportunity for them to play more year round. And that is developing some really skilled players and some players who are really good at the game. I think sometimes, they can play too much. And I think that's a really good thing in developing those players, but I hate to see them either burn out or get overuse injuries. So I think there's a balance there, but I think it's that opportunity they have. And the more we have all those talented players playing together in Maine, the more they're pushing each other and getting better. I know on my team, most of my players, many of them play other sports, but basketball is their passion. And I think we just have, and maybe it's, partly due to the fact is they're seeing some of those players around them and they're motivating them. They're seeing the Mackenzie Holmes and the Espositos and they're saying, yeah, I want to achieve to that level. So I think seeing some of that talent is very motivating to the younger players.
Lynn, your team in 2020 got to the state championship game, and like you said, great players on that team, really talented team. Last year, it didn't count. And you would have had a pretty good year. You would have had a pretty good team last year. Yep. So now this year you've got a younger team, no height, not as tough as you've been. Do you have to coach this team differently than you have in the past?
Yes and no. I think because they're younger and more inexperienced, I do have to teach them more. I think some of the players before came in with such a knowledge of how to do everything and how to do everything well, from defense to boxing out. And I think some of that stuff needs to be broken down more. What I don't have to do this year that I love is I don't really have to motivate. I mean, I feel like that's part of my job as a coach, but these kids are so motivated. They're so hungry. And part of it is who they are, the group that they are. And part of it is coming off a year where they didn't have the same opportunities. They're just so hungry to play. So I would say of the groups I've had, across the board as a team, this might be one of the more hardworking, passionate. We've had those players, but I'm looking at, and I have a little bigger team this year. I have 13 players, but I'm looking at player 1 to player 13 that just can't wait to get in the gym and play. So, pretty, like I said, even there's a lot of balance on my team. But there's just a lot of passion to work hard and play the game. And that's why I think that, we've got a lot of things to work on. We're young, and I think we're going to take some, hits and face some adversity along the way. But I think we're going to be ready come, the 1st of February. I hope we're going to be at our best then. And I think we have some potential to be really good.
Coach, have you been playing in front of fans so far this season?
Say it again?
Have you been playing in front of fans so far this season?
Yeah, and what a difference that makes.
Yeah. How much of a difference has that been, and how has it been much of an adjustment for players to go back to playing in front of fans after that element wasn't there last year?
I think only an adjustment in a good way. I mean, they're just so excited to get into the gym and play a game. Yeah, we're 50% capacity here at South Portland, but we had a great crowd the other night, and it certainly adds a whole huge different level. It felt very flat last year. You know, we came in and we played, but it felt like a practice, and it's just so much more exciting. The music's playing, the fans are in the stands, and you know, we'd all rather play in front of a crowd. So I just think it's been positive all the way around for all the kids, not just the South Portland kids, to be back to somewhat normal. What a great chance to just play basketball.
I think you can gauge what your players are capable of a lot more in that situation. It's one thing to go through, 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter of a game. It's another thing to do 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and the fans are, racking up the volume.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great opportunity to get out there and play again in front of a crowd. So a lot of fun.
Okay, that's a great optimistic, positive thing to end on. Coach Hasson, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good Lynne Hasson from South Portland High School girls basketball.
We'll see you somewhere.
Yeah. All right, we're going to move on now to athletes of the week. We didn't have any last week because nobody had done anything. So we'll start right now with Maddie Fitzpatrick, Cheverus girls basketball. Sophomore guard, scored 19 points in a season-opening 50-36 win over Bangor. Then she followed it up with 17 points in a 62-20 win over Deering. Mike, I think you had a chance to see her in that Bangor game.
I did. She's only a sophomore, and I would say she's already a top 10 player in the state, maybe even higher than that. She is her coach calls her the complete package. Bill Goodman there. She's the point guard. She's about 5'11", I would say, 5'10-ish, 5'11". She can shoot the three. She drives to the basket. She hits free throws. She plays great defense. I mean, she wreaked havoc on that Bangor backcourt in that game, and she's just diving all over the court. Amy Vashon was actually at the game last Friday night, and I'm sure she was there to get a firsthand look at Fitzpatrick.
Amy, of course, the head coach of the University of Maine women's basketball team. Evan Dutill from Greeley boys hockey. He scored with 20 seconds left in overtime to lift the Rangers to a 3-2 come-from-behind win over Cheverus Yarmouth. I think this game shows the depth and parity in Southern Maine ice hockey. Cheverus Yarmouth's lost 2 games now in overtime. This Greeley team, which is coming off a couple state championships in a row, lost to Cape Elizabeth tonight, 4-2. So I think we're going to see a lot of interesting games coming up in the upcoming weeks. John Shea from Edward Little boys basketball. He opened the season with 30 points and 14 rebounds in a win over Oxford Hills on Friday. Then he put up 44 points in a win over Hamden on Tuesday. That ties Troy Barney's program record and for points in the game, and Shea missed a lot of time in the second half because he had blood on his shorts. Lizzie Gruber from Gardner girls basketball. She had 16 points and 19 rebounds in a win over Coney. Drew, she's just going to go out and get a double-double pretty much every night, isn't she?
Much effortlessly, yeah. And that's what we started. We've seen that from her throughout her career, is that ability to score and rebound, just rack up those the numbers in those categories. But what really stood out in that game against Coney, she went up against India Clark, who we talked about last week being the really good transfer to Coney, going to Wofford next year. She matched up with her one-on-one every time down the court, and you saw her on-ball defense has really come along, and her ability, because India is a really talented driver of the basketball, knows how to finish with contact, and Lizzie just wasn't letting her get past. She won that matchup, and it was just another facet to her game being put out there. We've seen the scoring, we've seen the rebounding, we've seen the shot blocking, and then we saw her ability to really go one-on-one with somebody and limit what they could do from pretty much the 3-point line on in. So it's just another step towards her becoming an even more complete player.
She's got one more year to go after this.
Yeah.
Landon Johnson from Old Orchard Beach boys basketball. He's a junior. He poured in 42 points in Tuesday's 82-55 win over Richmond as the Seagulls improved to 1-1. Leah Landry from Lewiston girls hockey. She scored 5 goals in the Blue Devils' 11-3 win over Winslow, Gardner, Coney, Lawrence, Messalonski, Brewer. Luke Briggs, Coney boys basketball, he scored 15 points in a win over Gardner, and then 24 points in a win over Erskine. Drew, just tell us about what Luke's doing to be a leader on that Coney team.
Yeah, that's a good way to set that question, because he's been on the team and been a contributor since his sophomore year. But that was the team with Simon McCormick on it and Dakota Dearborn. He could really kind of sit back and be the spot up shooter, and do it that way. This year, he has to be more of that leader. He needs to be the go-to guy. And if Coney's going to be a team that can make some noise in A North, he's going to have a big year. And you could see that in that game. He knocked down some shots, but he was also taking the ball to the basket a lot more. He was driving more, and just kind of showing more ways to go about getting points. So yeah, he's stepping into more of a it's his team now. Tony's got a lot of talented players in that team, but they're young. It's definitely going to be him who needs to lead the way, and it looks like he's getting that message and he's ready to step into that role for the Rams.
Richie Gilboy from Southport and Freeport Wayne Fleet boys hockey. He had 2 power play goals as the Riots defeated Lewiston, the 2020 state champions, 4-1 on Wednesday. This is another one of those good Southern Maine teams we were talking about just a minute ago. Interesting to see how the Red Riots continue to improve throughout the season. Evelyn Boardman, Scarborough girls hockey. She's a senior forward, and she scored 2 goals in a 4-2 win over previously unbeaten Lewiston on Wednesday. Earlier, she scored 3 goals in a 9-2 win over the Gorham Co-op team. Elise McNair from Old Orchard Beach girls basketball. She scored 33 in the opening 56-23 win over Trape, and then 28 in a 68-34 win over Richmond. Andrew Casares, Edward Little swimming. He set a new school record in the 100-yard butterfly in the Red Eddies season opening meet Friday. He hadn't competed in the 100 butterfly since last winter's season opener. He finished it in 54.64 seconds, surpassing the 1998 record. In March, he broke a 31-year-old school record in the 500 free, so expect him to break some more records before the season's over. Remigio Wani, Deering boys basketball. I hope I got your name correct. He scored 21 points to lead Deering in a 64-55 season opening win against Bonnie Eagle. Follow that up with 31 points and 6 3-pointers in a win over Chevers. And then finally, Olivia Manning from Cape Elizabeth girls basketball. She's a junior. She had 12 points and 22 rebounds in a 36-29 win over Wayne Fleet. We got to get in a game against Gardner for them to see how she rebounds with Lizzie Gruber. Mike, it's not a player of the week, but we have to mention the Lee Academy girls basketball team doing some of
that. They beat Shed the other night, 57-21 to snap an 89-game losing streak. That's a long losing streak. It went back to the 2014-15 season. Their coach Michael Richardson's been there 4 or 5 years now. He said, "You know what? This is going to be our only win this year, guys. I think we can. Finish in the middle of the pack in Class C North. See what one win can do for you. It can just take you and elevate your expectations."
Confidence breeds confidence. That's for
sure.
Congratulations to the Pandas. That's great. Let's look at some games coming up in the next couple of weeks here. I'll start with a couple games, high hockey games on Saturday. Games, a Class B powerhouse against a Class A contender. We have that Cape Elizabeth team that beat Greeley tonight at Falmouth, and then that Greeley team's playing at Thornton. So I think those are going to be a couple measuring stick games for all 4 teams involved. Drew, in Central Maine, what are some of the big games coming up?
A big one on Monday. It's the Nokomis boys versus Skowhegan boys. These are 2 I think the 2 top teams in the preseason poll for Class A North. Maybe 2 of top 3. I can't remember if Drew or Skowhegan was in that second spot. But either way, they're both supposed to be good this year. And I got a chance to see Nokomis in action in their opener against Bangor. And Skowhegan dropped its first game to Brewer, came back with a win over Mount Blue. So they're starting to, they've got the momentum going, and it's going to be a good indication of just where these teams are and sort of what the power structure there looks like. There are no final answers in the second week of the season, but we're gonna get a good sense for where these teams are. And the other game I'm looking at is Tuesday. It's Lawrence versus Coney girls. It's again that Coney team with India Clark I just talked about. They bounced back from that Gardner loss with the win over Erskine. And Lawrence is 2-0 and beat Gardner. And so we were kind of I think we were talking last week about how Lawrence could be that team that sort of rides under all the hype paid to Christopher and Gruber and Clark. And might have the best overall team in that class, and they're certainly showing that might be the case. So again, we'll get a sense even further about where those teams stack up going forward.
Let me ask you, what was the atmosphere like at Nokomis for the debut of the Flag Brothers? Was it as a zoo? Was it? I'm sure there's a lot of fans there.
It would be hard to say. You can't call it a zoo so much just because it's limited attendance and everything. But there was definitely a buzz and an excitement to it. You could tell the fans there were there was a vibrant student section there. You could tell they were ready to see either Cooper or Ace do anything on the court. And it's funny because Cooper had 6 points through 3 quarters, was really kind of kept in check by double and triple teams from Bangor, and then the fourth quarter he had a grabbed an offensive rebound, waited for the defense to clear and threw down a dunk, and then he dunked a putback later on, and you could just hear it was like the crowd was saying like, "This is what we were waiting for," and the noise rose there, and Nokomis ran away with the game. So it was definitely an exciting scene that night.
Mike, any games you're looking forward to checking out?
Yeah. Actually, there's actually a couple of nice games tomorrow, which I think you might be going to New Gloucester Greeley girls. Is that correct?
I will be. Looking forward to that.
And that ought to be pretty good because those are two teams that have traditionally been powers. They're both a little down this year, but they're both still pretty good. And I think this is going to be a good early season indication of just which team might be taking that first step forward. And then on Monday, there's a couple of really good, potentially good boys games next Tuesday, Falmouth at South Portland and Thorn Academy at Bonnie Eagle. I think these are 4 of the teams that are really going to be battling all season for the top spot there. And in girls, very interesting to see how Mount Ararat does against Yarmouth next Tuesday. Yarmouth is one of those teams, very talented team led by Caitlin D'Apollonia, their point guard. They should be one of the top 2 or 3 teams in Class B South this year. And Mount Ararat is going to contend in Class A South. And they're 2-0 right now, and they're playing pretty well. And it's going to be very interesting to see which team comes out on top in that one. I'm looking forward to seeing that one.
The season's just starting, but it looks like it's going to be fun.
Yes.
Okay. As a reminder to check out pressherald.com, centralmaine.com, sunjournal.com, varsitymaine.com for all your high school sports coverage in the state of Maine. And also a reminder, we will not be back until January 6th. We're going to take some time off for the holidays, and we urge you to enjoy them as well. So for Drew, for Mike, for Coach Hasson, I'm Travis. Thanks for joining us on Varsity Maine Live.